Hey, good Monday morning to you all. Tim O here, and it's a sunny morning. It's supposed to be a little mostly cloudy today, but looks good to me. Been out there already watering and enjoying the morning with all the little animals that come and visit me. So yeah, it's been good, and I had a great weekend. Great Father's Day. Um, Really nice weekend spent with Carol and friends and meetings and just really good stuff. And now the new week is here, and today I am doing the albums that have inspired me through the years. Another segment of my little show here. And today it's all about Mr. Jimi Hendrix. And I just got this for Father's Day. It says 50th anniversary edition, remastered from the original 2-track master tapes, all analog limited edition, 180 gram vinyl pressing on translucent red, black, and white marbled vinyl. And this truly is a monumental live album. Sorry about the glare, I'm trying to get it so you can see it. But you think if you know this album, you know the gist. And it comes with this nice little booklet with some stuff: Blood, Sweat, and Tears, Hendrix from the Fillmore East. Great snapshot right there. And then Hendrix in action. Jimi was such a magical performer. And it's got all sorts of writings on the album. Great pictures from that New Year's Eve show. Just stunning pictures. And then the back one of Jimi. And as I said, let me just show you. This is the record itself. Look at that. That's friggin' awesome, man. I really dig that. Because that's what Hendrix was all about. His music was all about colors. And, he brought so many colors to music back in his day. Not only in his guitar playing, but in his lyrics. Just a stunning performer. And anybody that's seen Jimi Hendrix when he was in his prime, walked away from the music scene had never seen a guy like this. He just came on the scene and blew the doors wide open and left his peers, my glasses, left his peers, like Eric Clapton and Jeff Beck. They were just in awe of this guy. It's like, holy, he was just a force. So this is a monumental album. This was after the Experience broke up, and Jimmy was kind of going in a different direction, with some rhythm and blues infused funk, and you can hear it on this album. And it's, and I love that part of him. And he was actually going to go probably from here, from what many said, into a jazz rock kind of mode. And he was playing with Miles Davis and other big cats, and Jimmy was always expanding his music. He didn't have much time, and he put out 3 studio albums, and then with this one, and this one was kind of a throwaway. This one was just to get out there to he owed the label an album, so he just put this one out. But really, this performance, by the band the Gypsies, Billy Cox and Buddy Miles, is just great. It was on New Year's Eve of 1969, so played up and into 1970, and it was recorded at New York's Fillmore East. And just, Jimmy was just locked into a groove that whole night. All 3 of them were really, Buddy Miles was just, he had that funk appeal. And, his singing, he was eccentric, but a great drummer. And Hendrix was so used to that Mitch Mitchell feel, that jazz feel that Mitch had, and I believe for me, Mitch was a better drummer, but in the funk, rhythm and rhythm and blues infused music that Jimi was going to right here, Buddy was a perfect match, and he had those vocals, you know. Playing it, singing on changes and singing backups to Jimi on Power of Love and stuff like that. Just really good stuff, And Machine Gun, that song still to this day is like I've never heard a song played like that before. It's just for me, it's the centerpiece of the whole record. A 12-minute force of mournful, psychedelic. You can hear the you could feel the power of that song, and it's like like the Vietnam veterans that were going through that stuff. When you listen to Jimi with that feedback, just tearing it apart. It was just an arsenal of sound, and the horrific sounds of war you can hear in his guitar playing. At least I can. If you really get into music, you can hear it. And it, I remember on my first listen to that, it just left me spellbound afterwards. I was just like, wow, man, what the hell was that? And it's still, till this day, when I hear it, that guitar playing, I never heard guitar playing like that. That was just killer. And my standout tracks, like Machine Gun, Who Knows, it's like a 9-minute jam that blends punishing blues rock riffs and with crisp infectious rhythm and blues. And really, I was listening to that the other day right before I got it. I'm like, I want to just listen to a couple songs. And that song is just a great tune. It really is. The interplay between the trio is just phenomenal. And, and it just was provided a template for that 70s funk that was to come. Parliament, Funkadelic, the Ohio Players, and so on and so on, And Power of Love, Message to Love, these tracks packed with with just ear pounding friggin' vocals from both Jimi and Buddy, and just killer stuff. A prime example of Hendrix laying down some of his funkiest and most rhythmic playing ever, no doubt. Those two songs right there, and then Changes. That's Buddy Miles in all his glory, soulful, infectious. That groove is just, complete with, with the most blistering drum fills in classic rock. Just fantastic, And, I was gonna just pick out like a couple of songs, but every song on this album is fantastic. And like I said, it was almost like a throwaway record, and it was quickly released, just to satisfy the nagging contractual, dispute with Capitol Records. And but the sheer quality of the performances here make it a masterpiece. One of Hendrix's, like I said, he put out 4 albums. There's 1,000 of them out there, but 4 that were truly, him. And this was such a, from Electric Ladyland, Boulder's Love, this was a total shift. That was psychedelic rock music, those 3 albums, and this kind of like just took it into that funky groove. And that was, a big part of with that rhythm section, Buddy Miles and Billy Cox, just really laying it down, and, for me, I love that wild experimental stuff, that Jimi did, that when he came out with Are You Experience, Boulder's Love, Electric Ladyland. Those are three great albums. Probably the best. Are You Experience is to me still, maybe besides Led Zeppelin's album and maybe a couple more that can go in there, but that's one of the greatest, if not the greatest, debut albums ever. I mean, when that came on, it just blew everybody's mind, and but I like this. Excuse me. I like the structure of this album. It's like it just kind of grounds Jimi. Jimi was flying high with those three albums, but this one kind of brings another side to him that grounded. Even Bill Graham, when he came out and did that first show, he was like guitar over his head, under his legs, all this stuff, going crazy. And when he came walking back, Bill, he goes, "How was that, Bill?" And Bill was like, "Yeah, it was all right." And Jimi was like, "What? It's all right?" And he goes, "Why don't you just go out there, Jimi, and just play your guitar and just show everybody what you can do." And he did. He came out, and this is a recording of that. He came out and just played his guitar, and, it just was so heavy. You listen to this thing on a good stereo, good volume. I got a great stereo back there. Can't wait to play this. And, it's just the roots of funk rock right there in that album. And, if you don't own this, I think you should own this. This is an essential. If you're a Jimi Hendrix fan, it's a definite. And if you're just a fan of rock music, rock funk music, whatever label you can put on it or want to put on it, this is a fantastic album. It was at a time, really, this was the last official record. Now the Hendrix family are putting out things, they're calling them official records, but this was like Jimi's swan song. And, this thing has inspired many generations of music fans to come, and me, through the years, and me being one of them. So, these records that I highlight on here, the next one I'm going to be doing is Exile on Main Street by the Rolling Stones, which is another classic, and what it has meant to my life, and the thing about this album with my life, it was just, we used to hang around in the projects and a lot of cellaways and stuff like that, and just really groove to this music. And this was powerful music, and it just inspired my life. It inspired my way of trying to structure myself around guitar. I'm not a Jimi Hendrix protege in the sense of guitar playing. I kind of pick a little bit of everything. I love Curtis Mayfield. I love Jimi Hendrix. I love Stevie Ray Vaughan. I love Keith Richards. I love Mick Taylor. I love a lot of things. I blend them all, and that's why my palette is so, it's so wide, because I have such taste in so many different types of music, and they all inspire me, And if you ever want to come over to Facebook, I run two sites. One's called Let the Music Do the Talking, and the other one is called Can't You Hear the Music? And please come on over, check it out. And I play a variety of music: blues, rock, jazz, funk, anything, it's a lot of music inspires me, and I think it should be heard, and it should be taken in and digested and brought out into, if you're a musician, into your music or just into your life. So anyways, this is Tim O. Have a great day out there, and it's always a pleasure to see you. Be well, take care of yourselves, and like and subscribe to this video if you would. Thank you, and have a good day.